How's it going, all you Mason Mets fans? It's your guy Wardy here, and we're back at it with another victory to break down as the New York Metropolitans take down the Colorado Rockies and what was a slap ass, and pardon my French, but I gotta say it fashion, by a final score of 8-2. The Mets certainly went belt to you-know-what in this one against the Rockies, as they should, against the same Colorado Rockies that are only on pace to win not even 30 games out of a 162-game season. That alone is why the Mets need to step up big time in Game 2 of this three-game set. After winning yesterday by a final score of 4-2 or so, the boys stepped up, and who stepped up most notably for the Mets? It wasn't just Sanga, who had a fantastic, a truly dominant outing to a degree against this Colorado Rockies team. It's also the one and only and Juan Soto going back-to-back with Nimmo for a ding-dong. I'm going to go on a limb and say what I know a lot of you guys are starting to think. And that's the reality that Juan Soto is, in fact, happy to be here. You know who's also happy to be here? The same man who got a star of the hot corner today, that being in Brett the Hitman Baty. And Brett Baty is taking advantage of every opportunity given to him right now with third base reps, defensive, fantastic web gems that we're seeing, and the bats ball skills, pulling baseballs, going opposite field, driving in runs, batting in the 5-hole today was brilliant work by Carlos Mendoza there. Mark Vientos was off the bench in this one. The Mets didn't need his bat in this one as they won again by a whopping 8-2. Nimmo, Jeff McNeil have some home run heroics. Sanga did his thing, and so much to break down as we're going to our latest post-game show here presented by our great friends at BetUS and SeatGeek, but more on them a little bit in the post-game show here, everybody. And I know, as you guys can see, I'm rocking my Knicks hat tonight. We'll see what happens in Game 6 in Indy. I'm just grateful that today's one of the rare occasions where the Mets had a day game and the Knicks have their night game. They don't match up at all. So as soon as I'm done with the post-game show here, I'm locking in for my New York Knicks. Just like all you Knicks and Mets fans watching this live on a replay, we'll see exactly what transpires in said matchup. But everybody, as always, spam those W's as you first chime in. That is what your guy wants to see. Not only did the Mets secure a big Game 2 victory against the Rockies this weekend, but the Mets have now won 3 consecutive series dating back to that first matchup against the Dodgers. I'll be in attendance for some of that series in LA against the Dodgers, and I hope to see many West Coast Mets fans there beginning Monday, as Paul Blackburn will be making his official Mets debut this Monday there, which I kind of assumed, and that is in fact now a reality. We broke that down previously in our video that dropped earlier today, but to further expand, Paul Blackburn is in fact returning to the Mets rotation for this Monday as a 6th starter to give guys like Sanga that extra rest there and their turn in order there. So we're going to talk more about that to wrap up the show, but I want to see those W's spam the live chat right now, folks, because the Mets have won 3 consecutive series. They finished the month of May with a record of 15-12. Not the best, but certainly could have been a hell of a lot worse if we know anything about how the Mets fared in the month of May just a calendar year ago. A lot to break down this matchup, including individual player performances, you name it, everybody, but spam those W's as your first chime in. D-Mac, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Great memory here. D-Mac states the following: encouraging to see Soto swinging first pitch and doing damage. Absolutely. Let me just fix my hat real quick, everybody. Give me 1 second. There we go. I have like absolutely terrible hat hair today, like bad, worse than usual, so I couldn't even have it peeking out with it without it annoying me. So I fixed it. We're good to go, everybody. D-Mac, again, thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate that. Shout out to all my members, subscribers, and new subscribers first chiming in live at a replay as we have you covered with the #1 post-game show here on YouTube, as always, throughout the course of the 162. And folks, we got to let it rip as we always do after every big victory. Say it with me, everybody. Say it with me if you know you know. Let's let it rip as we always do with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Let's effing go. Ha ha! Shout out to my guys, Greg and Jordan, as always, with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Love it or hate it, it's here to stay. It's our little jingle that we love to play after every single Mets victory throughout not only the course of the 162, but certainly postseason as well. It gets bananas once we get to postseason play time, everybody. And today's live show, as always, is not possible without our amazing sponsors on the platform. Same way you guys are amazing for watching, hitting that like, that subscription, those donations, those memberships. You all go such a long way here to keep us afloat daily. Same as the case with our amazing sponsors here, especially the one that you already see down below, and that's our awesome friends here at everybody you know very well at SeatGeek. SeatGeek has you covered when it comes to all of your ticketing needs, and there's no better time than the present to at Citi Field, potentially for a nice day game tomorrow this Sunday. Why not, everybody? Gorgeous day, hopefully. We'll see. I actually don't know at all what the weather is tomorrow in New York, so again, I digress. As long as the weather's cool tomorrow, you guys should attend. The Mets are now 23-7, if not 22-7 at home for the best record, not just in the National League, but in Major League Baseball at home. And SeatGeek helps make it that much easier, because not only can you choose from Mets tickets, you can look for tickets there in the basketball space, obviously in the hockey space when the season gets going again, unless you're trying to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, or if you're looking for concert tickets, comedy show tickets, you name it, SeatGeek has you covered with over 70,000 active events to choose from, making them the #1 rated ticketing app in the game today, folks. And as you guys see beside me, what separates SeatGeek from the rest is truly how you can utilize their app on a scale of 1 to 10 and red to green color coordination. What that means is when you're looking for tickets, you're going to see if it's on a grading scale 7 to 10 and the green, it's a great bang for your buck and it's worthy of the dollars that's asking. You should probably seek those in the app. You might, however, come across some tickets that aren't as favorable or in the more 1 through 5 range in the red, and that's SeatGeek's honest review by saying that yes, they listed these tickets, but they're honestly not a good bang for your buck, and you probably shouldn't seek them unless you want to go ahead with the drastic overpay. So again, they're fair, they're honest, and I absolutely love SeatGeek and have prior to them becoming an official sponsor here on the platform. So guys, if you want to save some money, save, I don't know, 10% off your next ticket purchase, head over there to our great friends again at SeatGeek that have you covered. Link down below in the description, and shout out once more to our friends at SeatGeek for being an amazing sponsor on the platform, utilizing our promo code WARDY10. Now guys, as we hop into this, let me get to some quick donations, and then let's break down this ball game, shall we? Because like I said, we had a lot of things cooking today. Brett the Hitman Baty looking fantastic, both offensively and defensively. Juan Soto continuing to get things picked up now. Again, slowly but surely, we're getting more of that Juan Soto that we're hoping and expecting to see throughout the course of the 162. Brandon Nimmo and Chef McNeil, again, every lefty bat was smoking baseballs today, including Francisco Lindor, who in fact got on base so much today that Lindor has now been on base 7 of the first 8 opportunities he has had in this series against Colorado Rockies. Kind of good if you ask me, folks. Kind of good. But let's go up here to the donations and we'll do our quick shout outs and then we'll break down this ball game. Mothman with the $2 holla. Love you, brother. Thank you so much. At the game, Yankee fan behind Soto. He bitch yelled. Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen, Yankee fans are going to be schmucks. Absolutely. I mean, I would do the exact same thing if I'm going out of my way to be an opposing fan just to hate watch a guy just because I'm miserable that someone I had a one-night stand with didn't want to stay for a second night. That is pretty much the reality of Yankees fans still having their little you-know-what's in a twist over Juan Soto. I mean, imagine being that, especially when Juan Soto hasn't even been like the guy that we're hoping he can be so far with the Mets. You know what I mean? Like, again, get over it, little bro. It's going to be okay, I promise. Yoshima with the $2 holla, thank you so much. He says, another series W, much-needed offensive breakout. Much-needed indeed. I'm glad you brought that up, Yoshima. It was a much-needed offensive breakout for this Mets team because as Gary Cohen noted on SNY's broadcast today, this is the first game in the last 25 games throughout the month of May in which the Mets had themselves at least 8+ runs scored. Prior to that, the Mets did, however, have at least, I think, 6 games in the month of May where they just scored a boatload of runs, but a month of April, I should say. But as we entered May, it was not as wonderful of a month as it was just above average, I would say, of a month for this Mets team. Ultimately concluded May with a record of what we saw there, 15-2. But thank you guys for those donations. I appreciate them a lot. Kevin Kane with a $5 holla states the following: first place Mets, Mets again, let's go. Take care of business. Sweep this before Dodgers. Hopefully Weir and Juan breaking out. It is the Rockies, though. It is the Rockies. And that context is important, but you still have to beat the opponents you're facing. It's not the Mets' fault that they're playing without question the biggest bottom feeder at Major League Baseball right now, that being in the Colorado Rockies. But what we can say at least is that, yes, sweep this series, take care of business, in my opinion, get that job done, and then hopefully at minimum split the 4-game set there, including winning game 1 against LA while I'll be in attendance. Please and thank you, New York Metropolitans. But in all seriousness, we'll see what happens. Thank you for the donation. Paradoxal, how we doing? Juliet, great member. Rebecca, how we doing? Great member. Vinny, how we doing? Great member. G Money, how we doing? Sean MD, great member. Chris Norton, Mothman, Eddie C, how we doing? Great member. Charlene, how are you? Alvin, great member. D-Mac, thank you so much for the donation earlier. Encouraging to see Soto swinging first pitch and doing damage. Absolutely, I could not agree more. Thank you again for the donation. Matt, how we doing? Juliet, how we doing? Going up here, Zach Flagerton, longtime follower as well. Go Mets, how are you? David Meinzer, how we doing? Going up here, Caesar, how are you? Frank V, great member. Peter, how we doing? He said, let's go Pacers. Oh, you're a schmuck. You are an absolute schmuck. What are you, a Nets fan? Or you're just somehow a Pacers fan and a Mets fan, which means that someone cooked you in the lab wrongly. Regardless, happy to have you in here. Miguel, and yes, we are back in first place, Miguel. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I know a couple of you guys have as well. Paula, Nico, and Nika, happy to have you guys in here. Malone, Juan Diaz, great member. All you guys watching live on a replay, we are very happy to have you guys for our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show. And yes, the Mets are back in first place, guys. And you want to know how the Mets got back in first place to a degree? It was by taking advantage of the opportunities given them. The Mets winning both their series against the Rockies and the White Sox helped prevail this. And when everyone was freaking out when the Mets initially lost first place there, that we saw the Phillies, mind you, the Phillies had an 8-game winning streak that was backed by beating the A's, the Pirates, and the Rockies. So miss me with this nonsense that, oh, it was going to be the Phillies to run away with it all year long. Again, guys, it's going to be a seesaw, no doubt about it. Can I predict your Sanga grade for a free giveaway? Zach, that's a good question, Zach. You know what, Zach? I'm going to say no on that only because I feel like it won't be terribly hard to predict what my final line grade for Kodai Senga is going to be today. If I thought it was going to be difficult, I would agree to that. But Zach, be creative. Next time we do a live show or a pre-recorded video, let me know in the comments. Come up with a different way that we can do a type of giveaway separate from the giveaways we're doing right now, which consists of when we hit subscriber goals on the platform. Every new 1,000 subscribers we hit here to over the 33,000 now, we give away a new Mets jersey of whatever player you want on the roster. Yoshima, actually, who's in the chat right now, won the last jersey giveaway, which was he went with Brandon Nimmo, which was really nice. So yeah, congratulations to everyone that's won jerseys this year. 2 Juan Soto jerseys, a Brandon Nimmo jersey, and a Juan Soto shirt jersey have all been given away. Dave, I know I need to hit the PO box. I got to try to hit that hopefully sometime tomorrow there before I take my flight early Monday. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Mothman, Nixon 7, love to see that. Phil's lose, we're tied for first. Again, love to see it, Dave. Appreciate the $2 holla. Nixon 7, baby. You said it, Yoshima. Again, taking the words out of my mouth right now. Phillies get smoked 17-7 versus the Brewer Crew. F him. I'm sure Reese Hoskins, the former Philadelphia Philly, helped play a key part into kicking their teeth in. Send down Jared Young. It won't shock me if that happens relatively soon. And speaking of call-ups and send-downs, we did see Chris Stavensky, who was calling up over the past day there for Brandon Waddell after Waddell pitched like 5 innings for the Mets and didn't have the best outing. Davensky closed out the ball game and the non-save situation in this 8-2 victory against the Rockies today, everybody. And we did see Carlos Mendoza speak pregame how they're really loving what they're seeing from Ronnie Mauricio. They obviously want him to get more consistent reps down there, and they would like Ronnie to be playing in more back-to-back games where he's been on an every other game basis right now. But once that really gets solidified, next step is pretty much when, not if, Ronnie will be called up for this Mets team. And we're going to continue to beat that drum plenty all season long here on the platform because Ronnie Mauricio has basically a 1,500 OPS, is batting .560 in the minor leagues. I know it's a small sample size, but oh baby, you got to at least pay some attention to that. And David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza are certainly doing exactly that. Shamanai's bullpen went fantastic, everybody. It looks like he's going to face batters one more time, like I said, before beginning his rehab assignment. And Paul Blackburn again officially makes his season debut this Monday. I'm really relaying this all now instead of a separate Big Mets updates video because tomorrow's game is at 1 p.m. I'm not dropping a game to have a shelf life of like 3 hours because you guys are going to just focus on the post-game show, not care about the last video. Let's see here. KC, thank you so much for the $5 haul. KC says, a much-needed, nice, easy win. Job still isn't done. Finish it tomorrow with a sweep. No excuses, unlike Pitt and Chicago. Good vibes only tonight. Absolutely, KC. Thank you so much for that donation. Phil's beat by Rhys Hoskins. Isn't it ironic? It absolutely is. Thank you so much for the donation, Dave. Absolutely love you. But all right, guys, I digress. Let's get into what we're going to be breaking down today here before this Knicks in Game 6 against the Pacers and Indy kicks off. And what you guys will see is that it's going to be consisting of the following, everybody. First, we're going to take obviously a deeper dive into the pitching numbers. So my one question I have for you guys, I want you to start marinate and formulate this in your head before we ask you it later on in the actual breakdown of the ball game here shortly, is how would you grade Kodai Sanga on a scale of 1 to 10? Again, don't tell me in the chat or in the comments down below right now. Tell me once we get to that point here in the video where I'm showing just Sanga highlights and his final line numbers. Jose Budo was absolutely fantastic today. A much needed outing from him there. Chris Stefanski shut the door. Mets pitching yet again. Fantastic. Offensively, this is how not the ball game started, but how it ended. And as you guys can see here, the 1 through 9 was certainly cooking. Everybody and their mother was hitting. And the only guy that had a hit, but really was not good at the plate today, in my opinion, was Francisco Alvarez. And we'll talk more about that. But man, oh man, did Lady Luck smack this man across the face today. The one ball that easily should have been a hit for Francisco Alvarez at over 105 miles per hour was a ground ball double play instead. Just, again, no luck on the side in this one. Dave with the $5 haul once more. Haven't sent merch out yet, waiting for more to arrive. Oh, not a problem, Dave. I thought you told me from a little bit ago that you did. I said I would check it back once I got there to back in town. But no worries. I can check it once I get back there from LA to later in the week. Not a problem. And thank you so much again for everything you send my way. But guys, without further ado, let's now break down this ball game because there were a lot of key takeaways and a lot of positives from this one. So strap in, buckle up, and enjoy the Wardy conversation as he has you covered, breaking down the lace of Mets land. We saw Kodai Sanga again towing the rubber here for the Masons. And on the other hand, we saw Senzatella, the veteran right-hander who's been batting practice all year for the Rockies, tow the rubber there that we saw for the Rockies. And in the beginning of this ball game, after a quick strikeout there on Jordan Beck that we would see thanks to an automatic strike call, goes in the Mets' favor there. Ezequiel Tovar greets Kodai Sanga rudely. Tovar rips his 3rd home run of the season, but there's important context behind this home run, everybody. This is Ezequiel Tovar's 3rd home run of the year on Kodai Sanga's 3rd home run he's allowed, and just for the 2nd time, not just this season, but listen to this statistic, everybody. For the 2nd time in Kodai Sanga's career, he gave up a home run on the ghost fork. Yes, you heard that correctly. The ghost fork wasn't ghost forking because he threw it like 5 times in a row, basically, and then bam, that's what happens. But Ezequiel Tovar, again, was not psyched out, ghosted out at all by that ghost fork, and he takes him deep, and just like that, the Rockies have themselves an early 1-0 lead. And by no means was I stressed as soon as that happened. I said, I tweeted it out as well, that Sanga's absolutely going to get in a groove today, no doubt about it. And it feels like he's just giving up that early meatball because, of course, he is. But the fact that he gave it up with the ghost fork is just so rare. It's not a commonality at all. Only the 2nd time I believe he's given that up in his entire career. Pretty crazy. But because Sanga, again, would have stretches in this ball game, retiring north of freaking 20 batters or so as we broke this one down more. And this was also the 2nd straight game for the Mets where they not only won against the Rockies, but they hit at least 3 home runs. Yesterday, it was 2 bombs that we saw by Lindor. And I don't know why I'm blanking on who the solo shot was by the Mets today. You guys can enlighten me in the chat down below. Again, memories completely cooked from yesterday to today, mainly because I was so locked in on this ball game. I'm happy to finally see, again, more continuation from Juan Soto, among others. But back-to-back games with 3 home runs for the Mets, never complaining about that. But after that Tovar home run that made it quickly 1-0 the Rockies, another game where the Mets had to rally back. The Mets, almost every single game that they've won so far at home in this latest homestand stretch, and it was Starling Marte. Thank you for. It's easy for me to forget about Marte because he's not in the lineup every day. Yes, that was a nice bomb that we saw by star-studded Starling Marte. Love to see it. But getting back in this one, everybody. Hunter Goodman would be called out on strikes, and Ryan McMahon would strike out. So 3 strikeouts in the inning for Kodai Sanga. And again, he had the pitches working, and he had that ghost fork working on that strike 3 on Ryan McMahon. And yes, this is now, again, as I said earlier, back-to-back games with at least 3 home runs for the Mets. And what I meant to say a couple seconds ago was that every game that the Mets have won on this homestand, with the exception of yesterday, has been with the Mets rallying back by 1 or more run. That is, in fact, the reality. So very interesting. Even in their game that they lost to the Dodgers, they rallied all the way back to in the 9th inning and unfortunately lost in the 13th inning. At least you all weren't in attendance the way that Wardy was there. Not all that fun, but again, a rally back with Tyrone Taylor tying it in the 9th inning when you were down 3 against LA in the 9th inning. That was electric, and that kind of started more of that comeback mentality that we've seen from the Mets every single game, with the exception of one so far on this homestand. But we would see Lindor kick off the inning the best way he knows how, and if it isn't a home run the way that he did yesterday, it's going to be a single this time. Lindor goes opposite field with a single and a ground ball to left. Then we see Nimmo rip a single. Juan Soto gets on with a walk, and just like that, folks, the boys are cooking. Bases juiced, no outs. What do the Mets do in this position? Pete Alonso strikes out, and this was frustrating because Alonso had a strike 2 call on him that was a clear ball that went in hand when it called strike. But then afterwards, it's a dotted corner fastball by Senzatella, a really good pitch by him that, again, it wasn't out of the zone at all, just perfectly dotted, and Alonso missed it. That's all it was. Alonso strikes out for the first out of the day, and mind you, Alonso has the best numbers with runners in scoring position out of any eligible Mets batter, with the exception of Luis Torrens, so I think is 0.1 behind him on batting average with runners in scoring position. But here comes Brett Baty, batting in the 5 spot today, getting the start of the hot corner, tried to thrive after he came in yesterday as a late game defensive replacement in the 8th inning, and ripped a single on 100 miles per hour to the right side at almost 106 miles per hour. Fantastic work there. I mean, maybe it was that hit harder by Baty. I think it was almost 109, actually. Regardless, Baty comes in, and what does Brett the Hitman Baty do? He rips himself his second triple of the season. He goes center opposite field, not handled well by Sam Hilliard as he hits hard into the wall. 1 run scores, 2 runs scores, 3 runs scores, and just like that, Brett Baty gives the Mets an early 3-1 lead thanks to a bases clearing triple, everybody. Can we appreciate the greatness that was Brett Baty today? Because not only did he clear the bases with that triple there to give the Mets a 3-1 lead at the time, but his defense again spoke for itself in some of the highlights that you guys are now going to see. Beautiful double play turns, including charging that baseball without a problem. Love that effort there. Again, getting the quick pop outs without a problem as well. And again, easy double play turns by Brett the Hitman Baty. Just a defensive web gem that we saw yet again in the hot corner today. And offensively, again, just gave you pretty much everything that you could have asked for. If you're going to have one hit in the ball game, you might as well make that hit count itself. And Brett Baty is playing so damn good right now that he has a higher OPS, or pardon me, he is just under his OPS from Juan Soto, because Soto's home run today did get him to 770. Not that it's a drastic difference by any stretch, but Baty is already now entering a class, guys, where if we go back to his initial call-up by the Mets on May 5th. And mind you, that May 5th call-up came after Brett Baty's last game with the Mets. He hit a home run in the Mets' walk-off win against the Phillies at home to conclude their homestand. I was in attendance for that game when we did a post-game show live from the Mets Cadillac Club, courtesy of Tri-State Cadillac. But Brett Baty, everybody, since he's been called back up by the Mets from Jesse Winker going down with that oblique strain, well, what is one unfortunate situation becomes a great one for another. Brett Baty has been, without question, one of the most valuable batters for the Mets over the stretch, and he has driven in 16 runs. He has 16 RBIs since that May 5th call-up, and also has himself an over 900 OPS. Brett Baty has been one of the most important batters for the Mets the past calendar month, and the more he's in there, the better right now. I think that goes without saying. Regardless on this is a righty or a lefty, Brett Baty finally is looking more sound, more comfortable than ever at the major league level. And to all the people who, were believers in Brett Baty, no matter what, even through all the woes that he's had where he's looked like a stud in spring training, an absolute god in AAA, but at the major league level couldn't lift or drive a baseball to save his life. He's making better pitch selections. He's taking quality at bats now. He's not falling behind in counts nearly as often as he was in the first month of the season as well, leading to his inevitable send down at the time. Brett Baty just looks more and more like the guy that we expect him to be. And if Brett Baty is going to perform at this level where he's giving us gold glove caliber, if not platinum glove defense, and a bat that obviously can drive him out of the ballpark every now and then, get on pace for 20 to 25 home runs, we have something cooking here, everybody. And now it leads to a greater question as to if Baty's going to truly become the guy at third base for the Mets. where does that leave Mark Vientos, right? Because I love Vientos, and I know a lot of you guys do too. And I don't think we should, for 1 second, write off 27 home runs, including playoffs, 30-plus home runs, and just over 100 games last year. I understand he's a defensive liability. That's a broken record at this point. But I think in the case of Vientos, you got to not only get him out there, but get him consistent reps at DH right now, and then have this cooking. I think there's absolutely a world where both can thrive in this Mets lineup. Yes, it may fluctuate things for Vientos on the playing time, because and that also may hurt his development. I don't wish that, but at the same time, it's like, what else are you really supposed to do? Because you can't sit here with a straight face and tell me that Brett Baty doesn't deserve to be the Mets' current guy at third base. He's the better defender, and he's been swinging the bat without question better than what Vientos has at any point this season, what he has done over the past month alone. So want to know what your thoughts are on Vientos, everybody, and Baty. And Vientos is comparative Baty to Vientos last May. That's a fair point. But here's the thing. Vientos was in the very early goings of bursting on the scene at this point last year. I think of that series against the Cardinals, especially where he hit that walk-off bomb against and gave the Mets a jolt that they otherwise didn't have at all. I do think, though, that there is absolutely a world where you can give Vientos more consistent reps at DH, have him face lefties and righties. You don't need to put Marte in there much. We know that. Even with Marte hitting a home run yesterday, I really don't care. Give Vientos more of the consistent reps. And then you look at what happens with Ronnie Mauricio. With the Ronnie Mauricio stuff, that's where it's like, okay, what do you do? Because you got to find room for him either in the infield or at DH, and the Mets have such a logjam right now, an abundance of riches. Never a problem to have for this Mets team, but now they're finally starting to get on a groove with a lot of guys thriving at the same time, and with one man who thrived all last season now struggling to find himself on a more consistent float, that being Vientos so far here in 2025. Let's see what happens, everybody. But now let's get back to breaking down this ball game in its entirety, because Baty's triple, his second of the year, again makes it a 3-1 New York Metropolitan lead. And after that would transpire, everybody, we would see Jared Young line out, and then Tyrone Taylor with 2 outs, and I knew it before it happened. I was saying to myself, TT's going to hit a single here, and I didn't expect opposite field, though. Tyrone goes opposite field with 2 outs to give the Mets a 4-1 lead. That drives in Brett Baty. Baty with 3 RBIs and a run scored on the day, and Tyrone said, I want to get in on the stolen base action. He would promptly steal his 5th bag of the year there at second base for Tyrone. Jeff McNeil grounds out, but not before the Mets have themselves a 3-1 lead. Give me 1 second, everybody. Just got to blow out my nose quick. Allergies are kicking you, boys. You know what right now. 1 second. And I agree with you guys. Vientos has endless talent with the bat. He just unfortunately is in a slump at the moment, mixed with defense has not been on his side. There's a big difference when you have a guy defensively in Baty who's in roughly the 80th plus percentile and outs above average, whereas Mark Vientos is in literally the worst percentile in the 1% at that same position. That alone is why Baty needs to be getting more consistent third base reps. Pair that then with how well Baty has swung the bat in the past week. Plus, you have yourself a tricky situation for the Mets, but one that I again, and once more, I feel that they can really maximize on should they give Mark more consistent reps there at DH. But I digress, everybody. Juan Diaz, thank you so much for the donation. $5 holla. Mets should hire JD to sort out with Vientos. He helped him a lot last year. Ronnie soon, he looks good, Wardy. He looks great. It just comes down to more of the consistent reps, Juan. Thank you so much for the donation. You've been a fantastic member for a number of years now and a great moderator. But just to piggyback off of what Juan said there, nothing else I really need to say on the Vientos front. I think if we had JD Martinez as a hitting coach, we would all love that. But obviously that isn't coming to fruition as he's more focused on, his career of some sort, whether it's at the MLB level or at least being a pro pickleball player that he takes very seriously. No, I'm not joking. Ronnie's batties look great, but they need to give him more daily reps there in the minor leagues, meaning that he's not starting every other game, that he's starting pretty much every game. They want to get him more of his workload build up and see how he's looking more at third and second, and then we'll go from there. The great news, though, is that things are continuing to trend upward for Ronnie Mauricio, who I said over the past couple days at one point felt like an afterthought of impacting the Mets at any point this season. We just want to see Ronnie healthy. Now it's quickly become, when can we get this guy's ass up at the major league level? You see how quickly things can change when guys perform, and that's been the case here for Ronnie Mauricio there with AAA Syracuse. But as we continue on, everybody, we would see a nice 1-2-3 inning there for Kodai Sanga, striking out Brennan Doyle and Sam Hilliard back-to-back. And how does he do it, everybody? He strikes him out the best way he knows how. It's Ghost Fork there on the first strikeout, and then on the second strikeout, strikeout, it is the forkball yet again. Nasty ghost fork, and outside of Ezekiel Tovar, no one was hitting a damn thing up until the 7th inning. In the bottom of the second, we would see Lindor get on with a 1-out walk after Alvarez was called out on strikes. Brandon Nimmo would ground into a force out, and Juan Soto pops out to end the inning. We then enter the third. In the third, we would see a 1-2-3 yet again for Kodai Sanga. No strikeouts this time with the ghost fork. He gets a ground out on Kyle Farmer, a pop out on Mickey Moniak, and a fly out on Jordan Beck, and that does it there for the top of the third. In the bottom of the third, we would see Pete Alonso, the polar bear, rip himself a single. Brett Baty then would reach on fielder's choice, so again, not complaining about that. 2-on, no away, and that's all thanks to the fantastic error by Taro Estrada, who just made his season debut this past day or so. Jared Young would unfortunately ground into a double play that kind of, ruined this entire vibe going in the inning. I really would have loved the Mets to have pounced more there. They would have later on, but Young, who got the start at DH today, does ground into a double play, and Taylor grounds out to end the inning. In the 4th inning, another clean inning there for Kodai Sanga, but he's like, let's just get a bunch of flyouts. That's exactly what he got. Gets a flyout on Tovar, gets a flyout on Goodman, and gets a flyout on McMahon, and that does it there for a 1-2-3. As we then get to the bottom of the 4th here, we would see Jed McNeil would reach on the second error of the day already by Taro Estrada at second base. So you had a bad day. I mean, it wasn't terrible, though, because, again, Francisco Alvarez smokes a baseball into the ground, sadly. A great double play turn, 105+ miles per hour off the bat. Again, Alvarez hit the hell out of this baseball, but sadly, it was in no man's land as Taro Estrada handles it to Tovar, to Farmer for a big double play. Lindor then gets on base for the second time today, this time with a single, and then Brandon Nimmo drives him in. Brandon Nimmo with a Brandon Nimmo ding-dong, his 9th home run of the year for Mr. Nimmo, gives the Mets a 6-1 lead. Love to see it there. Brandon needed that big time. He's been so up and down with what we've been getting with him, but Nimmo has certainly been thriving more as of late that we've seen in the 2-hole, so never going to complain about that. Thank you, Brandon. Love to see that, but it gets from good to great, because not only does Brandon Nimmo give the Mets a 5-run comfortable lead at this point in the ball game, but Juan Soto says, you know what, you can't be the only one with 9 home runs on the season, right? We see Juan Soto go Soto up Otaco, his 9th home run of the season, everybody. A solo shot, because Juan Soto and hitting bombs with runners on is just something he's been allergic to at this point in the year. He's been robbed of grand salamis multiple times. Balls have fallen just short on the warning track. Things have pulled just foul on the right side. We've seen it all. Juan Soto, we have yet to really figure out when he's going to get himself a bomb with 2 guys on. I feel like that hasn't happened at all yet this year. I feel like it's only happened with 1 guy on at most. But no less, Juan Soto goes back-to-back with Brandon Nimmo. The Mets have themselves a comfortable 7-1 lead at this point in the ballgame. Shout out to Juan Soto, the one and only. Never going to complain about that, everybody, as that would really be a standout on Juan Soto's offensive game today, folks. To expand more here on Juan Soto, yes, we have Brett Baty, obviously, who was an absolute gem with the triple there and the great defense, but I do want to take another minute or so to highlight exactly what stood out here about Juan Soto and what is really more notable of him as of late versus his struggles previously, because I understand Juan Soto is still far from being the guy that we know and expect him to be at the major league level this season, but I think it goes without saying that he's now finally starting to kind of take advantage of the team. I love that reaction from Nimmo, and Lindor and Winker was next to them too, watching the Soto home run live on the back-to-back there. But again, Juan Soto, after looking fantastic yesterday that we saw at the plate, now has himself a productive day again. After an RBI double yesterday, has himself his 9th home run of the season here, a 231 average, a 770 OPS. Don't get me wrong, a lot more work to be done with Juan Soto, goes without saying, but it's about taking advantage of the opportunities given to you. And Soto didn't hit a lick against the White Sox. He literally did not get a single hit against the Chicago White Sox, which feels sacrilegious in itself, but at least Juan Soto now against a Rockies team is looking more comfortable, is getting more pitches to hit, and he's swinging more in the zone. And that's the big thing, guys, because Juan Soto entered the series having a 68% swing rate, or lack thereof, of pitches in the zone. For context, everybody, Juan Soto never does that. And I want to shout out Ira Samet on X for sending me this earlier today, because it is true. I knew about the stat, but I didn't know the exact statistic. Again, percentage taking strike one, especially guys. This season, Juan Soto's taking strike one at 68%. Last season, it was 58%, and then for his career, it's 55%. So there has been a lack of confidence, obviously, not seeing the pitches as well as we expect Soto to usually do. But this is a great step for Juan, and I'm excited to see more of him, what he can can do not only in the series finale for the day game tomorrow, but ultimately in that big 4-game series in LA. You know, we just saw Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani go toe-to-toe yesterday in that big extra inning victory for the Dodgers against the Yankees, and I would love to see Juan Soto go toe-to-toe with the big boppers and Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, the same way I want to see Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor, just to name a few, all go toe-to-toe. The big three versus the big three. The Mets handled round one between the two there at home, winning 2 games out of 3, but how will the Mets fare a 4-game set on the road where they have not been nearly as sound of a team, especially against good teams? Let's find out, everybody. But Juan Soto, happy to see that, to say the least. Mad Team, okay, now I know exactly who you are. Very happy to hear that. Thank you again for sending that earlier. It really does mean a lot. I was waiting to shout you out versus messaging you back. And Enrique Pardo, I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you on Monday, my man. I know that you're going to be at the Dodgers game. Let's make it happen, baby. But let's get back into this one, everybody, and let's continue to break down this Metropolitan victory by a final score of 8-2. And as we continue on here, the Mets are up 7-1. A pop out by Pete Alonso does it, which gets us set for the 5th. In the 5th inning, it's a 1-2-3 for Kodai Sanga, including a nice called strike 3 on Brendan Doyle. Brendan Doyle's second strikeout of the ball game, and that would be a 95-mile-per-hour heater just upstairs that he decided not to take the bat off his shoulders on. Hilliard would have ground out, and that does it there for the inning. In the bottom of the 5th, everybody, Brett Baty flies out. Jared Young gets on with a single for a 1-hit single. A wild pitch gets Young to second base. Then Tyrone Taylor gets on with a walk. Then we see Jeff McNeil ground into a force out. McNeil then promptly steals his first bag of the year there, steals second base, puts 2 runners in scoring position for Francisco Alvarez. What does Alvarez do, everybody? He strikes out swinging. Alvarez, when it gets bad, it gets ugly. That's the case with his plate approach at the moment. He swings and misses on the curveball right down the pipe, everybody, and that keeps it still a 7-1 Mets lead. As we enter the 6th, it's a nice 1-2-3 yet again for Kodai Sanga, who strikes out Jordan Beck there to end the inning beautifully on that forkball. Another strikeout on the ghost fork. Color me shocked. At the bottom of that same inning, Lindor gets on for the 3rd time today, this time with a walk. We would see Nimmo strike out, and unfortunately, Soto grounds into an inning double play. In the 7th inning, here comes Luis Angel Acuna to replace Brandon Nimmo, as we're going to see Acuna then handling second base, and I'm sure McNeil then was shifted to left field then. Everything's fine with Nimmo. I'm pretty sure that they just took him out because, again, we were up by a sizable margin, and pretty much that was about it. But I am going to double check right now just to make sure I'm accurate on that Carlos Mendoza didn't have anything else notable that he said for me to make note of on the Nimmo front. Okay, his calf cramped up, so that makes sense. All right, Nimmo had a little bit of a calf cramp, but he said he should be available without a problem tomorrow against the Rockies, so that's encouraging to see, everybody, and that's about that. So, now that the New York Mets are officially tied for first place, let's talk more about how they got here, now tying with the Philadelphia Phillies. Tovar got on there that we saw with a walk. Second time that he did something offensively today. First time was a solo shot to left. Ryan McMahon then gets on with a 1-out walk, so Kodai Sanga not having it as he did in all the previous innings, and you can kind of see how it's starting to quickly unravel on his end. And afterwards, we would see Taro Estrada rip, yes, a single, this time for an RBI. It's a 7-2 New York Metropolitan lead. Kodai Sanga with an exit this ball game there, and he is done after not even 7 innings. Here comes Jose Butto, who has not been great with runners inherited. How would he do this time? He would get a soft ground on Brendan Doyle, who would walk Sam Hilliard to have bases loaded just because he wants to feel things a little spicy, to ultimately strike out swinging Mr. Kyle Farmer on what was a beautifully placed pitch by Butto there on the sweeper. Perfectly set up just down and away there to get him to bite. Have to give credit where credit's due. Butto works some Houdini magic there. I'm not complaining. Great pitch by him there. And now, guys, let's talk about Mr. Kodai Sanga's final line. Kodai Sanga's final line is as follows, everybody. Sanga goes 6.1 innings of 92 pitch, 2 hit, 2 walk, 2 earned run baseball. Like I said, he retired north of 20 batters at one point in this ball game, 7 strikeouts, and did in fact raise his ERA because it was that damn low from 1.46 to 1.60. Kodai Sanga still has the best ERA among all eligible pitchers in the National League at minimum, and Sanga right as a starter at least. And Kodai Sanga, everybody, this was just a fantastic fantastic day by him. He was better than I think what his line would indicate. It's a shame that that one run did come in to score there. I'm giving Kodai Sanga a nice, easy, rock solid 7 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. He was in full command and control for the vast majority of the ball game when he was in there, and there was literally zero doubt in my mind whatsoever when he gave up that bomb to Tovar that he was going to be an issue today. That's just kind of the MO with Kodai Sanga, but it's a lot more of an MO when he kind of throws a meatball down the pipe on his fastball. It's different when he somehow, some way gives up a home run on the ghost fork. Like, that rarely happens. Again, second time in his career it's happened, in my opinion. So yeah, I am going to go with 7 out of 10. Zach, you got it wrong. Well, there you go. You would have won the giveaway anyways. 7 is what I'd go with. Okay, there you go. I think a lot of you guys can agree 7 is a rock solid grade for Kodai Sanga today. Didn't give us 7 innings, but when you understand the context on how well he pitched today, there's no reason why he shouldn't be getting at least a 7 grade from your guy Wardy. So guys, let me know all your thoughts in the chat and the comments down below. How would you grade Kodai Sanga's final line? Like I said, he gets an easy 7 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. And when we look at the pitch breakdown today, again, he was cooking with that ghost fork, and man, is that an understatement. Kodai Sanga's ghost fork, what he threw the most today, mind you, at 26% of the arsenal because he was getting that much swing and miss. Topped out 85 and sat 82. The forcing fastball at 25%. Topped out 82 and, that's wrong. 25% is where he topped out. And on the velocity where he topped out 95 and sat right around 93.5 to 94. Cutter at 18%, topped out 94, sat right around 90. Slider at 16%, topped out 86, right around 84. Sweeper at 5%, topped out 79 and sat right around 78. The curveball at 4%, topped out 70 and sat 69. Nice. And had his lowest pitch at 65. That's crazy. Curveball, just talked about that, and the sinker at 4% as well, topped out 89 and sat 87. So the entire kitchen sink, guys, we looked at, holy guacamole, we got, and the sink, whoa, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pitches. 7 pitches by Kodai Sanga today. The sweeper, if I didn't say that already, 5%, topped out 79, sat 78. Yeah, he threw everything. He legit threw everything at the Rockies today. I bet he was like, you know what? It's the Colorado Rockies. Why don't I just utilize my entire arsenal today? I kind of see what's working, what's not going forward. Brilliant game by Kodai Sanga. Another strongly caught game by Francisco Alvarez. But defensively, obviously, that wasn't the issue for Alvy today. But Kodai Sanga once more gets a 7 out of 10 from your guy Wardy. So you've been MIA by it. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Mr. Soto. My condolences to you and your entire family. Seriously, I'm very, very sorry to hear that. I'm never wishing on anybody. And know that not only myself, but the entire Wardy family is thinking of you and your loved ones in your time of grief right now. But thank you so much for chiming in. Never need to apologize either. Again, whether you're here for one day out of the 162 or every game, just know I appreciate you guys all so much for the support. And thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to share that with me, because I know that clearly I'm doing something right, that, you know, you feel that you want to go the extra length and tell you why you haven't been here. Tell me why I haven't been there. So I appreciate that, but know that I'm thinking about you and your loved ones right now, my friends. So sorry to hear that. Seriously. As we get back to breaking down this ball game, everybody, let's go ahead and do exactly that. So that Kyle Farmer strikeout does it there for Jose Butto, and the Mets still up by a good chunk there, heading to the bottom of the 7th. And the bottom of the 7th, everybody, we would see who strike out? Jared Young for the final out of the inning. The Mets go down in order from Alonso to Baty to Young, and that gets us set for the 8th inning. And in the 8th inning, Jordan Beck gets on with a 1-out walk, but a nice inning-ending double play does it there for Ezequiel Tovar. Jose Butto's day is done. Fantastic work by him. Then the bottom of the 9th, we would see Tyrone Taylor strikeout, and then Jeff McNeil rips himself his 3rd home run of the season. A nice bomb to the right side for McNeil makes it 8-2 New York Metropolitans. And for Jeff, that would not only be his 3rd home run of the year, but that would go a distance of 378 feet there on a 30-degree launch angle at 80 miles per hour to the right side. Mets up now 8-2 that we saw. And I was obviously very happy when I saw Jeff hit that bomb. You know, a nice little garbage time home run for Jeff. Never hurt every once in a while, right? McNeil has himself now a 832 OPS on the season. Could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse for sure. Alvarez, because this time last year, McNeil's OPS was like closer to like the start at 600 than anywhere close to 8. Alvarez got on with his first hit of the game. Of course, it came when the Mets were already up 8-2. But Alvy gets on with a single, and then McNeil and Acuna are out back-to-back to end it. We would see Chris Stavensky get the reliever role here for the 9th inning. Hunter Goodman strikes out. Then a double by Ryan McMahon, his 9th of the season. Taro Estrada grounds out, and Brendan Doyle flies out. Chris Davinsky works around a one-out double for a nice inning of work, and the Mets go on to win this one, folks, again by a final score of 8-2. And getting back to the pitching, guys, another day, another dollar where the Mets are fantastic on the pitching end. This right here, everybody, is why the Mets have the best team ERA at all Major League Baseball. It's because of great days like this. I understand you're playing the Colorado Rockies. Doesn't change the fact that it's still a very impressive day to see what they did here. So Kodai Sanga, again, 6.1 innings, 2 earned run baseball. Jose Budo goes 1.2 shutty, has a 3.6 ERA on the season. Chris Davinsky still has a 6 ERA because he was not good the last time the Mets had him up. But again, better today against the lesser opponent. That's what you bring in Chris Davinsky for. If the Mets say need a guy to go back-to-back on days of relief, I would go Chris Davinsky tomorrow unless they really want him just as an extra arm there for that 4-game set. I'm sure the Mets will make at least one reliever move in the 4-game series against the Dodgers, if not more. They're obviously going to make one, which is going to be Paul Blackburn coming up. And when Paul Blackburn comes up, they're either going to have Davinsky be the corresponding move, or it's going to be someone else that we don't know at this point. But that's great pitching yet again by this Mets team. That again, they enter today's game with the best team ERA in baseball at 2.89. The next best, I think, is at 3.10 or so. Might be by the Giants, if I'm not mistaken, because I know they've been great this year too. And the Phillies as well. But on the hitting end, everybody, this is how the ball game ended for the Mets, and they out-hit the Rockies a whopping 11-3. And the Mets still stranded plenty with runners in scoring position. Color me shocked. And this is what I mean, guys, and I told you guys this earlier in the year. Even when the Mets have had these 8-2 victories, they still haven't hit for shit with the runners in scoring position. And that held true today. With the exception of Brett Baty, no one else hit a lick. 2 for 9 with the runners in scoring position today for the Mets with their offense, and they left 6 on base. Offensively, though, Lindor, again, another great game for him. Lindor now is up to a 283 average and an 839 OPS after getting on base 7 of the past 8 times to begin this series against the Rockies. Brandon Nimmo, a 2 for 4 game with the home run and a pair of RBIs, a 232 average, 713 OPS. Luis Angel Acuna 0 for 1 down to a 252 average, 603 OPS. Juan Soto 1 for 3 with the 2 runs scored and the solo shot of an opposite field bomb to go back-to-back with Nimmo, 231 average, 770 OPS. Pete Alonso 1 for 4 with a 288 average, 921 OPS. Brett the Hitman Baty a 1 for 4 game thanks to the bases clearing. Pardon me, everybody. Triple center opposite field, 250 average, 767 OPS. Jared Young 1 for 4 in this one, 214 average, 767 OPS. Tyrone Taylor with the RBI single that we saw, 242 average, 642 OPS. And Jeff McNeil with his solo shot and an RBI naturally, 244 average, 832 OPS. Alvarez 1 for 4, a couple strikeouts, 235 average, 622 OPS. And that is everything that you guys need to know immediately from this New York Metropolitan victory. Yankees are getting smacked by the Dodgers. I'm not going to say too much on that front just because we might get our tits lit in LA. If the Mets play at all like they have on the road so far this year, I'm not overly encouraged for this 4-game set, especially with Paul Blackburn having his season debut, while I'll be in attendance, of course, there for Game 1 in LA. So on one hand, I'm ecstatic to be there. I know it's going to be an electric experience, and we're going to be live, actually, guys, from either Dodger Stadium or right after the ball game once I get back to my buddy's pad. It might take like north of an hour to get there and get set up just because of, exiting Dodger Stadium is going to be the biggest shit show. I'm not looking forward to that at all. But I am looking forward to giving you guys coverage at Dodger Stadium. But I do have my reservations as to what we should expect. The Mets have been dominant at home. They feed off of the fan base. Them going to Dodger Stadium when this is the same Mets team that lost, if we break it down that way. 2 series wins, 5 series losses, and 1 split series there in DC. So, yeah, not ideal. Not ideal at all. And that's what I'm looking for the Mets to hopefully stand out most in this 4-game set. Look more like this Mets team that you did on the pitching end in your previous matchup at home against the Dodgers. And on the offensive end, you have to show up more because the Dodgers are not going to be lifeless with their at-bats every game the way that they pretty much were in that 3-game set the Mets just had this past week or so against them. So that is something that I'm really looking at right away as we look ahead to that Dodgers series. And yeah, they need to be better. They absolutely need to be better. That is the early Achilles, 2 big Achilles heels so far for the Mets this season. It is A, runners of scoring position, and it is B, their road record. They're 13-15, but that context is important. They're 2-5-1 in their series on the road. That is going to do it for our latest New York Metropolitan postgame show. I would like to thank you all so much again for watching. I look forward to interacting with you guys a lot more in the chat, as well as we're going to be having ourselves a fun little Q&A segment tomorrow after our live show. After we break down the ball game, I'm going to be doing a more extended Q&A versus what I'm doing today. I just got to get out of here because I'm going to get myself set for the evening and get set for Knicks Pacers Game 6 there in Indy. Thank you guys again for watching. Let's go Mets, baby. I'll see you guys all again real soon. Peace out.